So hello and welcome to Bold Business Podcast Show. This is Ross Jones, and today I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Ruth Kudzi, coach, mentor, author, and the founder of Optimum Coaching Academy. Welcome, Ruth.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a privilege. And also, I love it because, our podcast show is our guests are phenomenal female business bosses from Yorkshire. But I know that you're not actually sitting in Yorkshire right now, but tell us about your tenuous link to Yorkshire, Ruth.
So my mum is from Yorkshire. She's a Yorkshire lass, so born and bred. So obviously her grandparents as well. So really strong Yorkshire links. And then I actually came to Leeds for university. So I do have a big part of Yorkshire in my heart.
Excellent. And I know that you're a fan of Yorkshire tea too. So there you are. That's fine. Just checking. So Ruth, tell me, how did you come to be the founder? What made you found the Optimum Coaching Academy?
I would say it was never the plan. Yeah. But what happened for me is I was working in education. I was a senior leader, doing really well, but kind of was thinking about what else. And then when I had my first daughter, I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't going to work, right? I have to be at school these hours. And school, when you work in a school, it's not like you can work flexibly, like, oh, I'm just going to deliver the lesson from home. Yeah. I'm just going to do the behaviour management from home. Like, that doesn't work. So I was like, okay, what can I do? And so I started doing coaching. I started my coaching business. And then one thing that I noticed is a lot of the coaches that I was supporting in my coaching business actually wanted to learn more coaching skills. And I was like, oh, there's a gap. So it took me about 3 years to then move into training coaches in coaching. It was never really the plan, but now it's like when you look back, it makes sense.
Yes.
But at the time, it just kind of evolved.
Yes, I love that. And that's the thing, isn't it, about, synchronicities and opportunities. And isn't it, Steve Jobs said, doesn't he, that you have to look back before you can join the dots up to find out how you got there.
Yeah.
So, I'm a big fan of spotting synchronicities as well. So tell me more.
At Leeds, I studied management and psychology. And I've been studying psychology before then. I loved psychology, loved people, but also like the business side. And I could never really make my mind up, which I really liked. And then I kind of, went traveling, came back, fell into recruitment because I had a massive credit card bill and my dad paid it off and then told me I had to pay him back. He opened my post and was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you spent that much money. And then gave me like a payment plan, which I think is worse than a bank when it's your dad. So then I was like, okay, I worked in recruitment and that, again, I was using a bit of what I'd learned, went into education. And then now I actually am that person that does what my degree was in.
Yes.
Coaching is really psychology. It's about people and communication and relationships. And then obviously a bit of the business side supports as well and thinking about leadership and that kind of thing. I never thought when I was doing management, back in the 90s, I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur because all of the entrepreneurs, everybody who went on and started their own business from that course, or my perception of everybody, which might be different, was male and came from money. Yeah. So they weren't all white males, but they were all men from money. They'd all been to private school. Their parents all had businesses. And so I'm like, my mum's a teacher. My dad works in insurance. But actually going back to Yorkshire, my granddad actually had a chain of butcher shops in Yorkshire. So there was something in my blood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Coopers. I think there's definitely one in Wetherby. I think there might have been one in Leeds as well. But he had 5 or 6. So I told myself a story, right? People like me are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But I had a role model who I didn't even think of.
Yeah. And so this, things we talk about a lot on this podcast are about self-leadership. So what does self-leadership mean for you?
Do you know what? I think it means actually understanding yourself first. So, recognizing what are my needs? What are my values? Where am I conflicted? Am I actually showing up for myself before others?
Yeah.
And I've been rubbish at this many times in my career where I've thought leadership has meant helping everybody else to do things.
Yeah.
Or sometimes doing it for everybody else.
Yeah.
And what I recognize is actually you can't lead unless you've got capacity to lead, and you can't create capacity if you're chained to your desk, if you're managing multiple things, if you're not present. So yeah, for me, it's very much about recognizing what you need, recognizing your strengths, and committing to yourself as much as you do for others.
Yeah, I love that actually. And that's my thing now. And I came to really hone in on self-leadership because there's tons of leadership stuff going on out there. But actually, as you say, it's more about helping others, and it's not about looking inwards and aware of your own beliefs, your own thinking, and the way you live every day. So I'm a big believer that that's where you have to start. And somebody said to me the other day, "What's the biggest mistake you've ever made?" And I'm thinking, I don't think I've not made a mistake. I don't actually feel that. I mean, I have made loads of mistakes, but I don't feel that they are things that are wrong. I always think that they've always been really important opportunities for me to adjust, if you like, to change course or whatever. So I think that's something that we, in terms of self-leadership, in my opinion, have to focus on a lot, because they're messages, aren't they, to help you find your way, like you finding your way after your gap year or whatever, and your excessive credit card bill. But finding yourself as the founder of the coaching academy. So I that's what I think anyway. But along the way, we can actually have times of adversity, can't we? And we've all had a few. Yeah. Would you like to share one for you that the good that came out of it, and it was a really important step in your own journey?
Yeah, I mean, adversity. So for me, it's probably like two different parts. And actually, I think I'll go with the first one first, which is, so it's all linked in so many different things. So my dad was an alcoholic, okay? And he died when he was 60, but he retired when he was 50. This is part of why I have a massive aversion when anyone says, "Do you want to retire?" Because he spent 10 years drinking himself to death. But within that, what I've recognized is he's neurodivergent. He was neurodivergent, and I'm neurodivergent. And I think that when you grow up with a parent who's not always there for you, even though he loved me, it really impacts your identity. And I think that I, for many years, was convinced that I would also be an alcoholic and that I wouldn't, and so like it actually stopped me doing a lot of things. And I really thought that I could save him, right? So I thought that it was my responsibility to make him better. And I think that when he died, like actually it was a bit of a catalyst for me. So that I was a teacher, and I was actually in a school that I really wasn't happy in. And I remember one of my friends saying to me, "You're not happy here. What are you doing? Like life is really short." And I went and got a different role, like a project-based role. And I think it was the first time that I started to recognize that I had agency. And so rather than being like, "Oh my gosh, this has happened to me," I was like, if my dad was still here, what would he be wanting me to do? And so I was 30 at that point. And that, I think, was a big shift for me in terms of how I live my life. Because before then, I didn't really think about the future that much. I didn't really think, like, I was lacking in confidence. And part of that was kind of, the second part is that when I was 18, so 30 years ago, I was in a really significant car accident, and somebody died, and I had lots of survivor guilt and all of this and PTSD. And again, it was like around that time, I'd had like so much therapy, so much other stuff. And I always used it as an excuse not to do things. And I'm like, actually, like, survivor guilt is real, it's horrible. But also, it is such a privilege to have that. And I'm not going to spend my whole life, in that space, because that is being really disrespectful to this other person.
Yeah.
So it took me like 12 years, I think, to get to actually taking myself seriously, having a bit of self-compassion and getting over myself and a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of therapy, probably a lot of alcohol as well, and lots of other things. And I think that often we think like, like, oh, you're successful now, or you must have always been really confident, or no, like that struggle,
Yeah.
that self-identity, that not liking yourself, that guilt, that shame, that all of that, when you can get through it,
Yes.
you can do other things. And again, when you say regret, it's like, of course, I wish that things haven't happened in my life, but you have to take the learning from them.
Yeah.
The only other way is that becomes who you are and your identity, and that just doesn't help.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that. And I do think it's like, I think it's like alchemy, isn't it? It's like turning the lead into gold, but how do you do that? And, you have to turn the temperature right up.
Yeah.
And it's about, as we said earlier, self-leadership. The number one thing is about self-awareness. It can be very easy, but we're all capable of astonishing things, aren't we? So if we just label ourselves as something and just decide and resign ourselves, so that's it. Because sometimes it can be too scary to turn that temperature right up and get out of our comfort zone or whatever we have to do. But the rewards are so life-changing, aren't they? To overcome yourself, to be the person that you are always intended to be, rather than living with this label of whatever core belief has been instilled in us from childhood or whatever. So yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I know people say to me, oh, you always see the positive in everything. Well, there's no other way to be, is there really? It's like,
oh my gosh, no. And sometimes like it's really hard to see the positive. And sometimes you're really, it doesn't mean that you don't feel the emotion. It doesn't mean that you don't feel sad, lonely, guilty, shame, etc. You still feel it. But I'm always like, well, where is the learning? Like, what is this teaching me? What is this lesson? And it's hard. But if we don't do that, and also if we don't take on agency for things and go, like, what is my role here? Like, then we don't ever grow, because we just stay being like the victim, which again, like, we all love a little bit of a victim, don't we? We love to be like, oh my gosh, it's everyone else's fault. It's nothing to do with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's like, that can feel safe. It can feel quite nourishing sometimes. That I'm just going to blame everyone else. Look how amazing I am.
Yeah.
But actually we know that long term, that isn't a great mindset. No. So, taking responsibility doesn't mean that we're blaming ourselves. It means that we go, right, let's be honest. I did something here too. This wasn't completely out of the blue. This tension or this argument or this mistake didn't come out of the blue.
No.
There were things that happened before. And if I can learn from that, brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I say that to my team as well. Like I say, part of actually I made a mistake here. I did this. And that is what's happening. That's what's happened here. I've learned from that. But yeah, guys, this was down to me. And I think they appreciate that, because it's just like, look, all of us make decisions and we get it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being human.
Yeah. And I think also there is often if we make the decisions out of maybe our ego trying to protect us for some reason, then you're surely going to make the wrong mistake, the wrong decision in those circumstances. It'd be hard, can't it? Just to keep who's this talking? Is this my ego talking, or is this my higher self?
Yeah, and actually, I love the way that you say that. I'd be like, is it my ego or is it oh, it's my ego again.
Yeah, again, keeps popping up. Oh, it's your best friend. He wants to protect you. Yeah, I like it, and I called it a he there. Actually, it's the he part of me.
Yeah,
interesting. Okay, so Ruth, I want to ask you a question that I like to ask my guests. So pretend I'm just deciding. I've just been thinking about walking away from my job, set up my own business. What number one piece of advice would you tell me? Would you share with me?
Oh my gosh. Know your numbers. Don't think that just because everyone else is talking about 5K, 10K, 100K, a million K months, that you need that. just work it out, because honestly, there is comfort in that. And I think that so many people don't talk about that, do they? They're like, we just manifest it. Just work out how much money you need every month. I like a good, better, best. Okay. So this, like, I like to call it good. So even if you're good, you're feeling good, right? So make good like your base. How can I go? And then, and then you have that security, because if you don't do this, if you don't know your numbers, you can often get into that state, that nervous system state where you are stuck because you're so overwhelmed, because you need to make the money and you don't take action and everyone else is making loads of money. And it's, just know your numbers.
Yeah, I love that. Fantastic. And that's the truth, isn't it? It's like when you are, and that's when you get into the spiral, isn't it? Because if you're there now in like a panicking or in survival mode or desperate, it's just going to attract more of that. So,
exactly.
So it's best to be able to be a bit more relaxed about it, to be fair. Yeah, to be fair. Well, it's been wonderful to have you on today. Thank you so much. It's been lots of fun. And next time you're in Yorkshire, maybe you should pop in.
I definitely will. I really want to come and see the donkeys, because I was talking so much about them as a kid. All my mum's holidays, where you live, and she always talked to me about the donkeys. And so I've got a very romantic view of the donkeys.
Excellent. Well, they actually walk past my house every morning.
Oh my God.
On their way back to the there you are. Have a great view of the donkeys.
Well, thank you so much, Roz. It's been amazing being here.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for listening, and see you next time.